with another video, and I'm going to be continuing my 3 best and 3 worst exercises for a muscle group, and today we're going to be talking about the bicep. This is a pretty popular one. Obviously, it's really fun to train, really easy to pump up, really it looks nice, and arms, right? That's all you need. And let's kick it off with what the bicep does. Bicep, it flexes the elbow and it supinates the wrist. You can see if I show you when my wrist is pronated and when I supinate it, you see the bicep flex. This is because the radius rotates around the ulna. Bicep helps in the flexion of that, and then obviously the bicep brings the wrist closer to your shoulder, which is flexion. So the first exercise I'm going to give you guys is the easy bar curl. This is my personal favorite bicep exercise because you can get a pump, you get lots of metabolic damage. You can cheat it, so you can go overload at the end of whatever exercise you're doing, or the reps, and you can overload it with weight, you can overload it with reps. It's just an all-out good exercise for the bicep. Now the easy bar curl, it's just, you can do it with a straight bar. The only thing that's different between a normal curl and easy bar curl is that the bar, it's one single bar, so it's like a barbell, except the bar is curved, and that's because when I use a straight bar, it's just really hard on my wrists. So if you have like wrist problems, or you just have tense wrists or anything like that, go with the easy bar. It won't do anything negative for you. It'll just make it easier on your wrists, and you can choose a grip that's either closer or you can do further. You can do it any which way you want. You just spin the bar around however you want. And it's just how you would use this exercise, obviously, is you curl the weight, but you want to fully extend down, completely down, 100% straight, arms 100% straight, go back up. That's how a curl works. But what you want to do with this is when you pull it up, kind of lift your elbow at the same time. You'll feel, if you do it with me, you can feel if you bring your elbow up just a little bit, you'll feel it way tighter in your bicep. So when you bring it up, you curl up and you kind of raise it at the same time, and you'll feel it heavily in your bicep. Now you have to, when you're doing this exercise, what I like a lot about it is that you go really slow down, all the way straight, and then you curl it back up, and it's really taxing. So you can't go super, super heavy unless you do the cheating version, which is still a really good alternate for it. And that's just where you kind of swing the weight up, then you let it drop. And then when I'm done with this and it's my last set or whatever, I take whatever weight I'm using, and then and I can't even lift it anymore, right? I just swing it up as hard as I possibly can and drop it super, super slow, and do that as many times, and you'll feel your muscles just ripping and shredding apart. And that's how you build muscle. Metabolic damage rips and tears in the muscle. They heal. Muscle gets bigger. So the more damage you can do to your muscles, to an extent, until you overtrain, obviously, will build you more muscle. The next exercise I'm going to be talking about is the machine or cable curls. Really, any machine or cable I really, really like because it keeps tension on your bicep the entire time. It's really good for pumping. A lot of people don't say don't chase the pump, and obviously you don't want to just chase the pump. You want to chase metabolic damage, but when you get a pump, you are getting a little bit of metabolic damage, and it feels good. And there's not a lot of things you can do with the bicep. It does two things. It rotates your wrist and moves your arm up. There's not much you can do. So I like the machine cable curl because it's not super dangerous. It's very easy to do, and you can do it in so many ways with how cable machines and just normal machines are set up. You can do any grips, you can do whatever you want, and it's just, you can do anything you want. Like if I was doing a cable curl, I don't do single arms for biceps ever, and I'll explain why later, but I grab a straight bar, I attach it to the cable at the bottom, whatever, and I put my elbows against my ribs, so when I have stability, and it just allows me to get way more flexion and way more mind-muscle connection with my bicep, and then I tear more of it, it gets bigger, all that good stuff. The next one I'm going to be talking about is the only curl I'll ever do that's separated. It's not a single bar, and not both my arms are moving at the same time, and that's going to be the incline curls. And the reason is because when you're at an incline like this and your arm is completely down, you have to use so much more muscle fibers to get the weight up, because you can't swing it up. You can't cheat on this exercise at all unless you're sitting up and swinging in. But obviously you'll notice if you're doing this. So if you're leaning back, your arms are completely straight to the ground, and you have to work so much harder to get it up. And that's like the only separated curl I'll ever allow in any program or doing myself. Obviously, if you like any other curls, you can do them, but those three are going to get you the most metabolic damage and the most muscle growth. So I'd definitely recommend just throwing those in your program instead of the three ones I'm going to be listing right here. These are really overrated, and people do them way too much, and they don't really give you any benefits than some of the other ones I gave you. And the first one we're talking about is just any separated curl at all. And the reason is because if you're doing a separated curl, you're not able to lift as much weight. You might get a nice pump out of it, but you're not going to be getting any metabolic damage from it. When you're take any exercise and the version of the split of it. Let's say barbell bench press. You're able to lift a lot on a bench press. Now do a dumbbell bench press. You can't hit your PR with a dumbbell bench press. It just doesn't work. You can't do separated exercise and be stronger. And with the biceps, you want to be stronger because they tear easy, so you want to have more weight. You just want to tear them up as much as possible to the extent that isn't overtraining. But you want to tear them up by using as much weight, which is why I do the things I do, like the slow curl down or anything like that. Separated curls, though, they're just not as good. You can't lift as much weight, and it's not always about the weight. I've said that a lot. It's all about the hypertrophy, blah, blah, blah. But just pumping your biceps up isn't going to do as much as doing something like an easy bar and doing a slow negative and things like that. The next exercise I'm going to be talking about is one you see way, way too much, and there's absolutely no reason for it, and it's the hammer curl. Two negatives to the hammer curl. It's one, a separated curl, and it doesn't supinate your wrist at all. It's hammer curl, if you didn't know, is where you take your arm, you have a barbell or a dumbbell, and you just curl up like this. You don't do any supination at all. You just curl up like this. And people say that when you do this, it works a muscle inside your bicep, or the brachialis muscle that is alongside your bicep and down and connects to your forearm. And what it does is it widens your bicep. That's not true at all, and I can prove it right here. It's very easy. You see my bicep, you can see it from all angles, and then when I supinate it, like I'm not flexing at all, just supinating the wrist, you can see it gets a little bit wider. If you train like this, it's going to get wider. You train like this, not going to get wider. It's a bad movement. I don't know why people do it so much. All it does is get you a pump, and it barely works your biceps. All it works is your forearms, and if you're going for a forearm exercise, go ahead and do it. It's not a bicep exercise, though, so don't use it as one. Next one I'm going to be talking about, same thing, pronated curls. Pronated curls are horrible. They don't work your bicep at all. They work your forearms. Doing a pronated curl is just, I can't even explain how dumb it is, really. It has no supination. You use almost none of your bicep doing it. You can go and try it. Go grab a dumbbell and curl like this. You won't feel it. I will squeeze as hard as possible, and I don't feel it nearly as much as if I just did this. I don't even have to have weight. I feel it more just doing this. Pronated curls are just really dumb. Don't do them. If you want to go test them out, go ahead. You'll see that I'm right. Pronated hammer curls are just really dumb. Don't do them. That's really all I got for the 3 best and 3 worst exercises for the biceps. I'm doing a 1-year transformation on my Insta, so if you want to see that, go check it out. But you know the drill. Follow the Insta, like, comment, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.